What up, what up? Well, I still got light. It's a good analogy for this talk today. A lot of people are hitting me up, still terrified, still scared. Although there's a good amount of people up there in the world right now that are standing up. But I think I just have to come to this live for people and come back to the real basics, like the start of how I started this channel and what the original calling was to so many of us that do this work out there, which is to be a light worker. Now, it could be called many different ways. That's just how it came into my life, my soul activation. And for some, maybe some of this stuff might be a little bit too much for people. Like it just might just be too much, you know? Like it might be like that guy's just crazy, or that guy just feels like some sort of weird, I don't know, some people don't really associate really well with the call to doing something that's from a divine nature. Some people might call it God's work, some people might call it you're just crazy, right? Well, a little bouncing going on. It's been, you know, that's a good analogy for where it's been, is all that have been on this calling, it's been a bumpy ride, you know? Like I'm experiencing at this little moment right here. And it's been difficult to have the same connection that there was in 2012. But that's because the connection to the divine, the connection in the channel has been altered and changed because we have all been changing, and this has been an ever-changing universe and an ever-changing world. And so this is a call to those that have felt the calling, that more than ever, that activation has had its upgrade. And this is going to be a time of great love, because there's going to be the opposite of a great time of peril that is going to be shown. And that the call was to keep that light and that love and that positivity, and not to buy into the fears, and not to let the fear ingest all of us, but to show others by holding strong, no matter how much difficulty it might feel at times, that it's about being a way shower. It's about showing people that you really, there's really no world to be afraid of. There's no fear to really be had. I mean, these are very minute and very small little things that are trying to take over people in their lives. And that's what fear really does. But what we're about to go through here in September and October is going to challenge everyone out there, including those that do this work, that have this calling, but that you've had those upgrades to be able to deal with it, but you've never really used them yet. So it's kind of one of those things where you have to trust even more so than ever in the divine, trust more so in God's upgrades, because we've never used them. And those upgrades and those recalculations and let's call it reprograms, like reprogramming the Lightworker code, is because the dark and the sphere entity has reprogrammed a lot of the world, including a lot of the people we love. That instead of
hazard reported ahead,
causing
eyes up,
segregation,
this could be a trap,
and causing, you know, this kind of like feeling of like, well, I don't know, you can't lose hope in people even if they've been reprogrammed by the dark. Like, the whole part of this is the sacred oneness that we all are. No matter how weird, no matter how I don't even want to use the term lost, because I call it more, you know, this is all frequency based, just whatever frequency people are running that has changed. And that happens, but, you know, you can't forget about the initial mission here.
hazard reported ahead,
And
eyes up, this could be a trap,
how funny that came out. You know, it could be a trap, right? There's traps that have been set up to our collective. There's traps that have been set up to our brothers and sisters in this world. And I think it's just very important for people to know at this point, if you're feeling that calling this whole time, for this last decade plus, like, don't fall into the traps. It's easy to fall into traps right now of fear. It's easy to fall into traps of, you know, like even giving the dark an exemption. Like, I'm exempted from the dark means you're giving them still power. And that's code for what's going on right now with all the stuff with the, right? Like, this whole feeling like, well, I have an exemption from getting it, whether it's morally or whether it's spiritually or whether it's physically. You have to remember that even asking for an exemption is giving authority and power for that to be taken away from you. That you are not exempt because you are not even part of that. The idea of being exempted from things from the dark means that you're giving power to the dark. The fear that the issue that you have exemption from fear means that there is a fear. And since we're speaking in light language code, the idea that, oh, I'm going to fake it means that you're fake. I'm going to get something fake.
hazard reported ahead, eyes up,
So
this could be a trap,
I think it's very important for people right now to remember to stay on not being afraid. But there's a time where if you feel this calling in life to rise up for not just humanity, but this is affecting universes and like literal other galaxies, dimensional energies all across the infinite universe itself. That what you do here and how you handle this moment in your life forward is everything. It's a lot more than just whether or not you're going to maintain your sovereign freedom as a country, but also the sovereign freedom of the universe. This goes a lot farther than just whether or not you're going to be able to go to a store or not. It goes a lot farther than politics. This goes a lot farther than puppets that we see. This goes into whether or not, as a collective, we want to give away our consciousness. Whether we want to give away our free will. Now, people might trip out when they hear me say that, since I'm a destiny, fate, trained motherfucker all the way. But that's because we're in a system that has free will on the largest part of the scale. And we all chose in our free will, in our higher soul, in our dimensional true soul, some people call it many different names, we chose to come into a system that had free will and fate for a reason. It's a consciousness awareness test, but it's also it's a truth that can be found again and remembered. And that's what karma really is a remembrance of bringing things back together and to remember the one. And that's what's so sacred about this place.
In 1 mile.
Even
Keep
though it
left.
seems
Eyes up.
at times like this place is not worth it, or it might seem at times that this life is too crazy, too difficult, or what's the point? The point is the surrender to the divine in order to understand the divine. Again, for some reason, think of it like renewing your vows. Like if you're married and you renew your vows. That's what this experience is here. But are we going to divorce those vows
Keep
to
left.
humanity? Are we going
Eyes
to
up.
divorce those vows to our true conscious self that is actually in a space and in a universe and in a like full
Keep left.
infinite universe
Eyes
that
up.
has free will? Or as Dante puts it, it's a divine comedy, because at the end of the day we still end up back at the same place with the divine and God. And there's parts of that that I truly adhere to, but at the same time, there does come a point in all cycles of our infinite where there is a real free will choice in all systems, even the ones with fate and the ones that have predetermination. It becomes a choice. And that's really what Matrix was all about. The movie was a lot more than just about understanding, tapping into a program that's preset and that you're aware of that. The movie series was about the understanding of a divine free will choice within a system that doesn't give you a full free will choice, but it finally does. And that oneness is all of us as one. It's not one person. It's the whole collective at large. And so this is one of those moments in time where if you look at your life and why I love this system from the divine part of this side of the coin, is that you can see every little marker that came up to this point, every person, every situation, everything that you've learned brought you to this moment right now. And whether you choose fear or love, and whether you choose the frequency that you are not only transmitting out, but that you choose to receive in. And the frequency that you choose to put out determines much of what happens. And what frequency you choose is a lot more than just sitting on, by the campfire and holding hands and putting it out. It's living it. We are beings of frequency that live it out too. We just don't, we're just not radio transmitters. you know? And maybe what's going to be very difficult over these next 2 months is maybe, as somebody put, the only way is to unite. And very soon. It might look very dismal in order to make people unite. People are lazy. I can tell you this, one thing I've learned through owning a spiritual network and television studio and having well over a dozen people come in and out. Very hard to unite people. A lot of people think about their own stuff, you know, like I've experienced it firsthand, probably more than a lot of people in the spiritual community. And that's not some sort of pride thing, that's just some sort of like truth. Because the full calling that has to come within yourself, and that what you have to listen to, and that what you have to be a living and breathing example of, is that there is a mission that is higher than just yourself. It is a collective mission. And it's not so much about giving your soul away, that gets attached to this so much, but it's about connecting your soul to that. A lot of people are scared in this reality because they're watching a divine orchestration happening, that the dark is actually having fun miraging as they're doing. So I have that radar detector that goes off and warns me, right? The divine orchestration of the divine was to take this system down. Pluto and Capricorn was not working. It was not for the divine. It was not for those that truly live in the way that this earth was meant to be lived like. And so watching systems crumble is terrifying people, and the dark is using it. And it was a divine orchestration. So stop being so afraid of watching the world fall, because it's not falling, it's ascending to how we're going to define it. But if we're going to define it off these dark clowns that are miraging themselves over the lights doing, like, how much more freedom have you felt within yourself over the last year and a half? How much more have you found about yourself? That's not the doing of the dark. That's the doing of the light. The mirage has been set by the dark because they don't even know how to do something beautifully orchestrated at all. You don't. So you're afraid of these plans or these, agendas. They had been planning this forever. You could believe that all you want, and I can totally see it and understand it. But as somebody who uses astrology, told you all this was going to go down. I've been for the last 2 weeks, I've been saying it doesn't matter if it was cold or if it was an asteroid or if it was anything. The same event would have taken place. But and the fear is the fear of the change, and the dark is placing themselves as, well, look at what the new world's going to be. It needs to be changed, right? So that's what I'm saying, is they're style biting. They're miraging the great change that's here. And it's all of us as humanity that is the one that defines this change, not anybody else. No, in many respects, they are part of our humanity, but they're not. Because they're not giving humanity a voice. They're not giving humanity the free will to make this choice, how we want this new world to be, the new system and the new program. And that was the whole truth that he had. Which take Neo and represent as the whole collective was the dark presented with the architect. Well, you can start over and you get this, and that's the end, right? Or be an idiot. It's so funny how the dark will tout. Because the dark will use fear. Like, go to your love and watch your whole civilization crumble. It's like, okay, that's a pretty clear and easy answer. That it took Neo on his 7th try through how many ever millions of years of system reflashings happen to finally get it. How many times have we all been here before and we've all had this talk and we've had all this experience? It's going to bring up deep, old. Whether you call them Akashic records or whether you call them just your karmic memory bank regarding the most simplest thing in the world, which is that how many times have we all been here? How many times have we all really been here? At the same moment, at the same point, and are we going to do the same stuff again? And instead of us saying words like, we're stupid, or how is this going to change? You be the change. You are the change. You are already given all this energy, and the upgrades are here for you, and you have to learn to tap into it. Instead of being afraid of losing your security, or losing, your job, or losing your reputation. Stop holding on so deeply to things that do not bring you the true wonder for all people. That's where the miracle is. Now people are starting to grasp for basics as miraculous, and that's not what we came here to do. We didn't come here to grasp for basic shit as miraculous. We came here for miraculous and most wonderful things. And this goes beyond countries and beyond Earth. That the liberty of the souls that have embodied this whole entire humanity and this oneness in this universe, and all of it, it's an expert. Truly are, a liberty-based soul and divine-based soul collective. A universal soul-based collective of liberty. So, I wanted to put this message out to people. First, to stop using stupid words and terms to ourselves and how we look at the world. But to start using the new, reprogramming that God has helped us come to every moment and make choices in the moment. Stop looking so far out. Start looking more in your moment. Start looking more in how do I make this moment the best and miraculous for all? And how do I connect to the miraculous? And how do I connect to the sacred of one now? And start seeing that the light is orchestrating the changes, not the dark. Because that's the problem. That you are giving your frequency to the dark by giving them the authority and the power that they're the ones making the changes, by just thinking that they're the ones that are causing all this. That's the program that you need to erase. That this is God changing things for the better, and that every time that you give it that it's agenda whatever 01, I'm just saying that in code, or whenever you keep thinking it's fucking Mr. Gates and it's you're, you know, there I am ready to go into you're an idiot, right? And I'm gonna fail just as much as you all are as we program how we have to look at this and how we have to do it. That we're not idiots. We're not gonna fall for any of this bullshit. Stop giving the frequency out there that it's these people, and how could they? How could we do this to ourselves frequency-wise by giving them the power of their own facade, that it was God, that it was the divine, that it was all lined up for this great change, for us to make the change. And the second we start turning that frequency around, and the second we stop giving the frequency to these powers that are fake, that are using God's divine change and God's divine orchestra and playing their own tune with it and trying to encapsulate people into that place, things will start to change. So that's all I have to say for today. I'll be around more. I'm going to be doing more lives and use my platform for lives. And go back to, if you have 30 minutes in your life, I just ask you to like search on my YouTube for channel, like channeling or channeled messages or Palladian. I've been saying this stuff and channeling this stuff for years. It's how this channel started. Especially the one in 2017. The one that was number one. The first of 3 messages that I received to give. Because if you listen to that message, you'll understand everything that has happened and how to get out of it right now. That's all I ask. And whether it resonates with you or not, totally cool. But that's all I ask for. It's like 20-minute video, 20 minutes of your time. It's been viewed a lot. I'm in a teal t-shirt in the mountains by a stream. It's in 4K too. Anyway, I love you all. I'm sending you my best. And hey, we got this. Not we can do this. No, we got this. We already were given this. It's not about taking anything back either. It's about already being in the frequency that is us and what is ours already. I love you all. I'll talk to you later.